Welcome to Business Decoded with Ronnie Spellman. We crack the code so you don't have to.
Welcome to the Business Decoded podcast with Ronnie Spellman. I'm excited to have a guest who is a former recording artist on the show. I've been wanting to have someone in the industry for a very long time, and so I happened to come across this really special individual. I'm excited to have him. Jovian Lopes. Jovian, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the kind words.
So you're the Chief Creative Officer at HL Dynasty, and as I mentioned, you're an ex-recording artist.
Yep.
But you spent a while in the music industry.
Yeah.
Tell me about your journey. How did you get into music? You grew up in New York. You're still in New York now. I hear you're recording from your corporate office there. So it's great to have you on the program.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. It's kind of like it's like asking when I first loved food, or when I first,
Right.
wrote my name or something. I don't know when I fell in love with, because obviously everyone, loves music to a certain extent, but I never loved it as a fan. I loved it as like, I want to create something new within that world. So I don't remember when I first had the thought of like, hey, I want to be a performer within music. But ultimately, even I went to school for acting. I've been acting all my life, and I used to make clothes. And despite all that, in the back of my mind, I understood that's all fine, but I would always pursue music and have that be like my main focus. But I just don't remember when that thought came into my head.
You know what's interesting is that when I looked up just the recording side, so you and I met almost by coincidence. I was looking to reach out to your father, and then you reached out to me, and I thought, this guy is really cool. And your journey in both business and in the music industry is really impressive. But when I looked it up, it says that you're a prolific New York R&B artist. And I thought, known for his bold creativity and artistic experimentation, I thought, this is really neat. And so you began telling me about it, and I listened to your record online. So your music video one was very impressive, very high-end video. And then the music in your sound was really neat. I was impressed by it. I didn't know which genre of R&B and rap you would have fallen, and that spectrum, because it's a pretty wide spectrum when you look at it. And so I was impressed.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I think because I have to appeal to just the general public, I can't say it's like alternative, like left of center, hip hop, R&B, house. So R&B was just what I fell into.
Right.
But that's like saying The Weeknd is R&B when it's really it's more. So I would say alternative, but then when you think alternative, you think rock. But alternative is like left of center of like what you would hear on the radio. So I love Shakespeare. So I always incorporated like high levels of just poetry and making sure each bar was, impactful. And I love melody. So there's always rapping, there's singing. And then I fell in love with house and electronic music. So it's all that combined.
Well, and I think a lot of people would think it would be laden with a lot of profanity and kind of this very hard, aggressive, and it wasn't. It was absolutely amazing just to hear your music.
Thank you. Yeah, I even if there's a sprinkle of curse words, I don't believe in like I only believe in talking about my experience and my trials and tribulations of love and sort of like emotional turmoil. And I think that that's what was so unique and fresh about my work, was that it was hip hop, but like what hip hop was supposed to be. Not this like derogatory, like decayed sort of society that hip hop pushes now. Whether it's authentic or not, I don't believe most of it is authentic. But ultimately, I think that's why. I'm coming from a different approach where it's more like spiritual turmoil and emotional turmoil, not so much financial. Because the reality is, even though I wasn't raised a trust fund baby, it's like, hey, I am privileged to not have to worry about my next meal. So that leaves room for now, like. Someone who's worrying about their next meal, they're not thinking about depression or anxiety. I had the time and the space and the privilege to be like, oh, wow, like, what is this feeling? What's this feeling?
Let's go experiment.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Which is, a lot of the people listening to the program are entrepreneurs, but that's so broad. I think most might think today entrepreneurship is in a tech company, or an AI company, but there's a huge spectrum, which is why I wanted to have someone from the music industry to talk about the business of music. Like, how does that evolve? There's some people that grow up around computers. They take them apart, they play with them, they grow up in coding, but you grew up, you seem to have this inside. Now, your family wasn't music. You didn't grow up on a turntable, did you?
Oh, nothing. No.
So was it in school? Was there like a music teacher or anything that kind of piqued your interest early on, or you just sort of,
No,
it just
everything in
evolved in you?
school. Everything in school was theater. It was acting.
Okay.
So it was nothing ever. It was more so, even though now I'm in politics, religion, business, I've always been like the opposite of a consumer, a creator, always
Right.
innovating things. So it's just in my soul
Right.
to rebel against any kind of system, any kind of industry I go into. It's just
Right.
in my DNA. And I think
Uh,
with in all the arts, generally speaking, there are gatekeepers and there are a lot of walls to break through. And I was willing to just do that through music because I loved it so much. And I think being on the inside and seeing how things work was super unique, but also it wasn't like my dad has never been in this or like
sure.
no family member ever. You know, so it
So
was
your dad wasn't a big music executive at Arista Records or one
that's
or the
funny.
other?
He almost got signed to Arista. That's hilarious.
Who?
Me.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But no, I used to have a production company a few
Sure.
years ago because no one wanted to shoot my music videos. So I was like, screw it. I'm just going to make my own production company. And we actually
Interesting.
had a deal with Arista Records where we would shoot all their new artists.
Okay.
And I was so miserable because Arista wouldn't entertain me at the time as an artist. They would
Right.
only entertain me as a videographer.
Right.
And then it wasn't until years later where I almost signed to them. But no, HL is always my father. He's always been in just construction, real
How funny.
estate, property management.
And
Never.
it's funny I asked because I think a lot of people assume that for your level of achievement, you must have grown up in a music family. Someone was connected somewhere, and you, in fact, weren't.
No,
But
I
you made me think of this as well. I interviewed an executive and an entrepreneur, and he was telling me the story. He went to college. I think he studied a certain topic because that was what he was supposed to study. And I think he shifted, and then he graduated. And he said one of the companies he applied to gave him a test. And on that test, the result came back that he's super smart. And he's like, okay, check. I got that piece down. And then it also came back and said, but you're unemployable.
Mhm.
And the reason is because he had an entrepreneur's mind. And like you mentioned with the artist mind, it's just who you are. There's no real defining it as what you become. And a lot of entrepreneurs are the same way. And I think you are a recording artist entrepreneur
Yeah,
from
yeah.
what I can tell.
No, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah, I think even beyond just music, because I've always been involved in acting and then fashion. I think it's overall just like sometimes I'll introduce myself as the creative director of HL Dynasty or the creative director of HL's. We also have this nonprofit, which is a landlord tenant organization where we're looking to heal the divide between tenants and landlords. So I even introduce myself as the creative director of that or the operating officer of that. And I think overall, it's kind of like a skateboarder. I grew
Sure.
up with some skateboarders where they're outside and they're looking at architecture in a way of how can I do tricks off of it?
Yeah.
And I thought it was so corny.
That's interesting.
I'm not really into skateboarding like that. I don't like their
Right.
lifestyle, but they would always like talk to each other like, oh, like I would see a railing and they see a trick off of the railing.
Right.
So applying that to me, everything I see is from the standpoint of the creative off of not making things more artsy, it's making things innovative.
Okay.
And,
Interesting.
I think because of that, I almost couldn't find a way into this world. And it wasn't until I discovered the role of CCO, Chief Creative Officer, I was like, okay, there is this sort of innovative from an artistic standpoint approach that I could have in, a company like HL Dynasty
Right.
or a nonprofit like ours, Gotham Housing Alliance. And that's
Right.
sort of where I found my footing.
That's cool. And so I definitely want to come back to that side of the business, the family office and the real estate and the investment side. But
Mhm.
on the music side, you started in 2009 making music, from what I understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what did that feel like at that time? Did you go straight into the studio? Did you start writing it? Because it wasn't until like 2016 that you said you began to take it seriously. So about 7 years later. But what was it like in that 2009 through 16 era? You were just finding your style or your way, or what was it that you were working through from a recording artist perspective?
Wow, you really looked into what I like my life. Impressive. Yeah, I think and it's also even more, sort of taking me aback because I don't really speak about this anymore. I mean, I only
Okay.
retired in October, so it hasn't been that
Right.
long, but I've just fully thrown myself into this new world. I haven't even thought about it, but that's absolutely true. I really started to take poetry, which I was writing, which
Mhm.
it wasn't even poetry. It was more like raps without a beat,
Right.
it's poetry. I mean, hip
It
hop is
is.
poetry, but it wasn't like poetry in the way you would read from a book. It had a flow, it had a tempo. And then it wasn't until 2009 where I was able to apply those lyrics or melody or flow to instrumentation, but it
Okay.
was not in the studio. It was in my house. And then
Right.
little by little, as I started, being able to save money, HL was extremely difficult to grow up with where, he didn't make any, he didn't give us anything. That's why
Right.
I didn't grow up as a trust fund baby, despite how privileged, I now realize I am. Thank
Right.
God. So yeah, 2009 to 2016, it was more so without me knowing subconsciously, I was, crafting my sound. I think as artists or maybe even entrepreneurs too, when you first start out on something, it's copying,
Right.
and not even on purpose. It's just like you wear your influence or your inspirations on your sleeve.
Sure.
Isn't until, maybe you put in that 10,000 hours that you shift that influence into innovation. So I
Right.
think oftentimes, especially now, artists will blow up off of their first couple of songs, and then it's hard for them to shift into their own sound because they blew up off of copying someone else.
Right.
Very
Well,
rarely do artists blow up because of innovation. And I think because just innately, subconsciously by mistake, 2009 to 2016, I was crafting this sound. And ultimately, when I finally officially released my first studio single as Jovian, it sounded like Jovian because I
yeah.
just spent all that time not wearing my influences on my sleeve,
Right.
innovating through those influences.
Well, and that's an interesting point that I speak to business leaders about all the time because sometimes business leaders want to create something, whatever that something is, whether it's a software or it's something else, but they want to create it and then the next day they want it to be super popular. They want to have that viral moment from a business perspective. So it's a quick way to get noticed, but it's not oftentimes sustainable, which is
Oh
kind of what I'm hearing for you. You have to really build out. I had someone tell me not long ago, when I was describing kind of the business approach that I took, they said, yeah, Ronnie, that's kind of the long way. But that way gives you your own style and it gives you your own product, right? So it
yeah.
sounds like you took the same thing. You wanted to make sure that what you were doing was really good.
Yeah, yeah, and I just think, ultimately, I don't know, I guess just innately, I don't really care for quick, I think
Right,
innately or subconsciously, I just understood I wanted to just create things that I enjoyed, and
right,
I think without doing creating any shortcuts or any sort of, gimmicks, I understood that, it takes time. It takes
right.
time, especially with art, people it can't be I as long as it's authentic and genuine, that reads, and then people will just catch up,
They'll find it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Now, even in hearing you speak, I read something just about your music side, your recording side, and listening to you, I see it as well. But my early career started out in engineering, and we studied Kaizen, which is a continuous improvement philosophy. It sounds like you are continuing to innovate. You're continuing to improve, which is very much the same in businesses that thrive for long periods of time. You're finding ways to do better what you did well yesterday,
Mm.
right? You're
Yeah, yeah.
taking it to the next level every single day. You're not just recording a song and then living off that song for 10 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Taking it and then you're building on it. And so when I heard you talk about once and a quote you had that you hadn't really seen yourself where you've done something that you're most proud of. And I
Mhm.
think it's because of that point as well. It's like, no, what you did yesterday was yesterday. It's really about what's next. That's kind of how you operate in some ways.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. I would say it's like a balance. I mean, everything is a balance, but are we allowed to
Sure.
curse in here, or would you rather keep it clean? Okay, cool. Not that I'm gonna curse up a storm. That's HL's job, but I really balance well, not on purpose, it just happens where it's like, I'm so grateful to be I mean, even the fact, I didn't even know I would not make music anymore, but the 5-year ago version of myself would be so proud of where I'm at now,
Okay.
despite not making music, but I balance that with, I'm still not shit,
Right.
and I think that
Right.
balance is important, and even the way I talk to myself is so demeaning, but not demeaning where I'm discouraged. I actually I forget the word discouraged when I'm thinking about the word, I
Sure.
forget because of how little I feel it. I don't feel discouraged at all.
Right.
It's more so like, okay, I can be proud of where I'm at, but that was yesterday,
Right.
who cares where I'm at? I'm present and I'm grateful to live in the present because that's all we have is the present. Nothing else
Right.
is real. But at the same time, why would I be proud? Like that, it doesn't even, I don't know. It just doesn't compute to me.
Right.
So when I'm proud of a song, I have a song Laserdisc to me is like objectively one of the greatest songs I've ever heard. But also I did it. That's dope. Okay,
Right.
what's next, you know? And
Right.
it's still grateful. It's not like a dopamine thing where I need instant gratification. It's more so the way I'm built is just, okay, like what's the next thing to excite me? You know,
Right.
that's ultimately what it is. It's like, how can I, just like you said, how can I improve and refine things, but also make it fresh? Because that's what excites me, you know?
Right.
That's
Right.
ultimately, I just, it's almost the most selfless way to live is by being selfish and, putting myself first to make sure I'm the best version of myself to give to the world. And the only way to do that is excite me. Like I need to excite myself. I need to be proud of myself. And ultimately, I think that's where that mindset comes from for sure.
Right. Now you mentioned that the you 5 years ago would be really proud of where you are today. Why is that?
I would say being more confident in myself, not questioning things.
Mhm.
I'm really, thank God, I'm very good at. I don't question anything that I do.
Mhm.
It's always just whatever I feel I do, whatever's on my mind I say. And I think that, ultimately the 5 year ago version of myself would have never thought that I wouldn't be making music. I think I told you off camera. I don't know if we were recording. I really thought I would kill myself if I wasn't making music. And that's not
Right.
even like hyperbole. I genuinely thought if music didn't exist in my life in a pursuit, sort not, I don't listen. I'm not a consumer. I'm a creator. I really thought that I would kill myself. That's all I had, which is, I think even the fact that I've been able to unlearn that and get that out of my head is impressive because 5 years ago I would have thought, hey, it's music or nothing. That's very much how I approached my view of success. So yeah, I think being more present is a big thing. Not living in the future. I never lived in the past. I hate nostalgia.
Right.
I hate aggressive. When I see people who do Throwback Thursdays on Instagram, I think they're a loser. It's like, yo, if you're talking about something in the past, you got to be a loser. If you're
Right.
glorifying it. So I hate
Right.
nostalgia. I hate glorifying the past, but I was very much a futurist. What's next? What's next? And I think I've gotten a great balance now where, if I imagine like if I'm present in a moment that I am so happy or so content, so satisfied, maybe if I'm maybe let's say, not to make it pity, but let's say 2 weeks ago, my grandfather passed away and it was 3 days after Father's Day. And I thought to myself, like, wow, like if I was still present, or if I was super present during Father's Day, maybe I would still be there with him right now because I'm so present that time is time. Time didn't speed up. Time is the time it's supposed to take. The seconds are going by as seconds, not as like minutes or hours, because we're not there, in the present. We're thinking
Right.
of the future or the past. Maybe had I been more present, I would still be there with him right now.
Right.
And that's the kind
Right.
of way I think where, hey, like, we can, whether it's art or entrepreneurship, business, whatever it may be, it's important to have foresight, but you need to be in the present because the
Right.
present is where the things are happening. And
Agreed.
maybe if you were as present as you could be, you'd still be in that moment right now, you
Right.
know?
And now and yeah, no, it totally makes sense. I think you're right. Sometimes the past can kind of keep people from moving forward
Hmm.
because they try to still live in that past,
For sure.
especially in business. They look at their old achievements. I remember listening to one, I think it was a college coach, and the question was, you've won the national championship in college football. What next? And it's really, we'll celebrate for a day or two and then we'll get ready for next year
Yeah.
and hope that we can win again. Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't really like sports at all, but like, let's
Right.
say the Knicks just won the championship. Next championship, if the Knicks don't make it, you're not going to think about how the Knicks won it last year. You're
Right.
going to be thinking about the Knicks aren't shit. They didn't make it,
Yep.
despite them just breaking history, be like doing something crazy this year. Obviously, I'm a New Yorker, so I'm thinking in the New York paradigm. But yeah, like the corny saying, like you're only as good as your last at bat, but your current at bat is the only is what matters. Like this is it.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely. Now, so not to look back yet, but I want you to tell me about, you mentioned one of your songs that kind of became really popular. Tell me about some of those songs and how they came about and what they meant in that moment.
Yeah, I think my first song where it was like not just like local friends or local zip code or like local people coming out to our show in New York that, my first song that got like national and then international sorts of eyes, where I started creating a fan base that didn't have to be my fan because they knew me. Like it was people who were complete strangers.
Right.
There was a song called Timothée Chalamet that I
Okay.
released, and which is the name of an actor. And I
Right.
named it that. I had met him a few times just through like mutual friends. And
Well, he grew up in New York. Right.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, what's crazy is I was supposed to be in his class in LaGuardia High School, but a week before his classes started, I switched schools. So it's funny. I was supposed to be in his class and actually know him.
So
But yeah,
don't lose your place in that story, but just for those that might not know him as an actor, his films have grossed over $2.3 billion worldwide. So he's
yeah,
become a really defined actor and made some wonderful movies that have
yeah,
grossed
yeah,
very well. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, he has a trilogy that's about to end this year called Dune. That I'm like,
Yeah.
I just love sci-fi, so
Right.
I'm just fascinated by the Dune series.
Right.
And this is prior to Dune coming out, but it had announced that he was going to be in it because this was 2020, and I was around him so much in these circles that I was like, oh, like this song I've written reminds me of a character he would play,
Okay.
and I would play too. I would play similar characters in acting and in theater. So I was like, oh, let me name it after him because his name is very like clickable. It's like a
Right.
very nice name the way he writes it. Because Timothy
Right.
is not with a Y, it's E because he's
Yes.
Parisian. So I figured like, hey, like not only is it symbolic because I could see him playing this character that I've written in the song, but also it's going to be marketable because he's the biggest actor right now. So I finally released it right before COVID started. So
Okay.
everyone was in their homes. It picked up on TikTok as this like corny trend, and it started doing
Interesting.
so well on TikTok that, yeah, we started to get followers off of this and people who were obsessed with the song because of his name. But then
Right.
when they looked into me, they realized, oh, this is not really gimmicky. This is someone of substance.
Real.
So it
Exactly.
really started to like craft this for the first time, like this fan base. So then I released a few months later this song called Better, which was
Okay.
very poppy, very like singy, like sing along type of song with a little bit of rap in it. And then it got the attention of this guy named Shaw Money. And Shaw
Okay.
Money is the ex manager and producer for 50 Cent and G Unit.
Okay.
So he reached out to me. I was like, yo, like you like gangster rap. Why are you like, especially my singing voice is so high and then my rap voice is so low. It
Right.
sounds like it's a feature. Most people don't even know I rap because that sounds so different.
Right.
He reached out. I was like, yo, and he's done incredible stuff. He found Two Chains. He found Future. He signed Bobby Shmurda and he helped
Mhm.
Travis Scott release his first
Right.
album. So he's done amazing things. And I was like, why? Like he wanted to manage me. So I was like, why? Like I'm this like light skinned guy who's singing about feelings and stuff. There's nothing gangster about myself in any way, but it just showed like he saw something in me from a song called Better, which is a very poppy song.
Sure.
So I signed with him for 2 years and he really helped me like get to LA and meet with other producers, work with some really big producers who work with Kanye and stuff. So that song Better took me to the next level.
Oh, interesting.
And then, yeah, from there I had a few other like this song Santal 33. That's like a very much like a
Sure.
straightforward rap song and a
There's
song.
one, what is it, Where'd You Go?
Oh yeah. Where'd
Yeah.
You Go was another
Okay.
one that Shaw Money loved. And
Okay.
despite it being more of a regular sort of like commercial level rap song, I was talking about depression and this idea of losing myself, being afraid to fall in love because I might lose myself in that person.
Right.
And then if they leave, then who the hell am I?
Right.
My identity has been crafted through the eyes of this person, not through myself, and the kind of depression or dissociation that comes with that. So again, it's like, yo, this is this gangster rap producer who managed 50 Cent and G Unit Records. What do you know about that level of emotion? Not that what it is you know. It's more so like, why are you interested in this sort of like deep, high IQ, sentimental thinking in a song? I wouldn't think he'd be into that. I would think he's like,
Okay.
the steal your girl, shoot you, all that stuff. And he actually wanted hip hop to be me, which was
Okay.
that was like
That's
so
cool.
mind blowing where he wanted to make a hip hop that was me, not
Right.
the stuff we spoke about off camera, which is like the vulgar, the kind of like
Right.
derogatory thing. So yeah, it was beautiful to
You
work with
know,
him.
And you reminded me of this. This is another point that I've spoken a lot with business people. Sometimes you never know who will be an advocate for you. You
Yeah.
think they might serve in a certain genre or a certain style of business, but them meeting you, trusting you, respecting your work, they're willing to branch out. And you
Yeah.
might not have had him on your list of people that you would reach out to partner with. And so it happens all the time. You just never know who's going to come out. So sometimes it's just good to reach out. But he found you, which is incredible.
Yeah, yeah, he found me, and I think you're right. I think whether our entrepreneur business, you have to open every door and go through it to see if it's your
You
door to
do.
go through. Because who is to say, like, let's say in the Shaw Money example, maybe, he was used to one way of rap, but because of my talent and my skill set, I'm the one that opened his eyes. So
Right.
ultimately, we can't demean ourselves or look at ourselves as not powerful because we could be that difference to be like, hey, I was into things, or hey, Shaw Money was into things one way, but because I opened up his mind, he's willing to go this way. So
Right.
just that with like investors, entrepreneurs, whatever, they maybe someone's into medicine, they might not be into like AI, and they'll see like, oh wait, wow, this person is being so innovative.
Right.
We can use AI to craft medicine, and you would have never thought, oh, what does this guy care about me, through
Right.
our powerful way of being. And as long as it's authentic and innovative, you can convince anyone to join you on anything, you know?
Right. Absolutely. Hey, before I talk about your current business, which I'm excited to talk to you about, tell me about your other businesses. You had a production company, and I think you mentioned at one point you were into clothing as well. I don't know if you're on the design side or you actually did something with it, but it sounds like you've had other businesses outside of your specific recording, your music recording side of work as well.
Yeah, that's so fun. Like I would have never thought of it as different businesses, but you're right. Yeah, it's
Right.
like obviously they're not only are they different businesses and different ventures, but they're literally different LLCs. Like I
Right.
crafted LLCs out of it just so it's professional. Yeah, I think you just opened up my eyes to the fact that I've done so much, thank God, in my life in just a short amount of time, but I do it based off of feeling because I want to create. I have it's hard for me to sleep. I have a lot of thoughts all the time, and I have a disorder called synesthesia. So I
Okay.
experience color with all five senses. I don't just
Wow.
experience color with my eyes, and it sounds so corny as someone who's like not an artist. It sounds fake, but it is
Sure.
real. So I taste color, I feel color, I see color, I hear color. So I think because of that, like I have a different sort of experience in life because everything is so overwhelming to me
Right.
that music is just not enough. I need to create because I feel so much color, so to speak. But I would have never thought of it as different business ventures, but that's literally what it is. You're right.
It is. It
So
is.
with the clothing came first. I got into clothing a lot older than normal, or maybe not. Maybe I was a late bloomer when it came to
Sure.
caring about how I dressed. But yeah, around 2012, 22, yeah, 2012, I was able to flip a pair of sneakers by mistake, and I made a lot of money for the first time ever. Because up until that point, it's like I used to play football, so HL. My father was like, "Oh,
Right.
I'll only buy you this thing if you win the football game." I'd be like,
Only a parent would do, right?
and I used to go HL, like, there's 53 people on this team. I can't control the outcome myself,
Right.
but it actually made me be like, "Okay, like, yo, I gotta take things into my own hand if I wanna get this toy or whatever." So, because of that mentality, I was always grinding, but I was never allowed an allowance or anything, and I
Sure.
think because I was involved in theater, I didn't have any time for a job outside of school. So this was the first time that I actually had it was only like $2,000, but I actually had money for the first time. And outside of Star Wars and collecting Star Wars things, I didn't really have hobbies or things to spend money on. And at the time, I finally got internet for the first time because HL also didn't really want internet in the house, which is
Sure.
insane. So I started looking at clothing in a different way because I found Tumblr, which is like a blog
Okay.
style
Yeah.
social media.
Right.
And then I found these brands. I was like, "Oh my God, like clothing isn't just what's in the mall. Like there's like another level of clothing."
Right.
My experience in the city, I was born and raised in Red Hook, Brooklyn, but then we moved to Staten Island. So I did most of my
Okay.
schooling in Staten Island, which is one of the five boroughs. And going to the city, I wasn't going to the areas where fashion was like the main thing. So getting internet, not only was I exposed to new music and YouTube and everything, I was exposed to fashion. I was like, whoa, let me check out eBay and find some of these designers that I've never heard of before. And then because I've just been born this way, maybe through upbringing, maybe, God made me this way, or maybe a mixture of both, I immediately wanted to just create my own things that I didn't see.
Right.
So I started making a clothing brand, which was the Jovian, because the Jovian is kind of like the Martian. Because the
Right.
Jovian, it means like a being from Jupiter. And I
Right.
was obsessed with Jupiter. I mean, to the point, I'm so silly. I got it tattooed on me. And HL hated that. Because when HL saw this, he was like, wait, how are you going to shake people's hand because of this? I was like, HL, I'm just going to reach my hand out. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like in hindsight, like I would never recommend tattoos. I love them, but I would never
Right.
recommend them. I think they're degenerate actually, which is insane.
Right.
But yeah, I was like, oh, I'm going to make this brand, the Jovian. I want to be a star traveler, but I was born too early. I can't be. So let me do it through fashion and have this like astronomy sort of planet cosmos approach. So yeah, I made clothes and I learned early on like, hey, no one cares about the clothes, but they care about how you package the story,
Interesting. Okay,
And I
now
was able
explain that to me. That's a little depth that some might not understand. That was interesting.
So apply that to entrepreneurship and business.
Right.
No one cares about a new business. No one cares,
Right.
But if the name is cool and then you package the graphic design in an intelligent and unique and dope, cool way, and then also the clothes, like clothes are just clothes. Like no one
Right.
cares. No, I'm wearing a Balenciaga hoodie. I love it because it has this taped,
Yeah.
so you can't
I
see
like
what it is.
Right.
And also the fit is nice. It hugs my waist in a cool way where, it accentuates I'm pretty short. I'm 5'8", which is
Right.
like online, you'd call that a manlet. It's like, I don't want to look like in this world I'm in with you, everything is looks, is
Right.
height, and my energy is 6'4", but physically I'm 5'8".
Right.
So I have clothing that hugs me in a way where I don't look like a manlet. I don't look like the short guy.
Sure.
But everything is all about lifestyle and packaging where it's, okay, anyone can make a shirt. Who gives a shit about a new shirt? But if they see a beautiful girl or a dope looking guy, or even me as the creator, turning up in the club, having fun, smiling, doing things that people aspire to do who don't even live in
Right.
New York, but I'm wearing the shirt, unfortunately, people are going to look at it like, yup, I need to wear that shirt so I can feel that way,
That's interesting.
which
Yeah.
is like, obviously me and you would be, I'll just go do that. Or my version of that might be reading a book at a cafe or, you know, flipping a stock or, closing a deal. Like that'll give me the dopamine. Most people don't
Right.
think that way. They're going to think, how can I get that level of what that dopamine looks like?
Right.
Realizing I'm miserable in a club. I hate it. Even
Right.
as an artist, I hated the club. I want to be on the stage or be the DJ. I'm not
Yeah.
a person who belongs in the crowd. But if I just take a photo of me turning up sweaty next to a beautiful girl wearing the shirt, they're going to think I need to wear that shirt in order to feel what I think Jovian is feeling, not
Sure.
knowing I'm depressed in the club. I belong on the stage.
Right.
So I learned that so early on where, hey, like even the price point, I learned if my price point is too low, people think something's wrong with it.
That's true.
Which is insane. So I was in a store next to Cat's Deli in Lower East Side, and my t-shirts, I'm an artist. So for me, it's like, hey, if this shirt costs me $20, I don't want my profit to be something crazy. I want it to be enough where I'm able to sustain this and grow, but I don't want
Right.
to overcharge someone when like I know what this is valued at. So it would cost me $20. I would sell it for 60. The guy next to me who I knew, he was a piece of crap. I didn't like him at all.
Right.
His shirts cost $7 to make, but he was selling them for 110.
Right.
And I was like, oh, there's no way I'm going to outsell him because they're going to see both of our qualities and they're going to choose mine because mine is cheaper and mine is doper, right? Or
Right.
dope. Turns out I was totally wrong
Yeah.
because his were 110. And me as an artist, I feel it. It's like, yo, it was made in Ecuador. Mine was made in New York.
Right.
They thought there was something wrong with mine
Right.
because mine was $60 and he was a little bigger than me. So they're like, oh, something's wrong with Jovian's. Let me buy his for 110. Meanwhile, you could basically buy two of mine for the same price. And that's when I learned his packaging is different and they
Right.
think something's wrong with me. I got to bring my price up. Even if it's $10 or $20 less than his, it still has to be in a higher range because now I'm looked at in the same way,
Right. So Jovian, I have to tell you, you discussed so many business principles in that discussion that you just had that are not related to the recording industry, the music industry, which is why I wanted you on this program.
Oh, thank
And
you.
that's fascinating because a lot of business leaders go through that process and they don't understand what you just mentioned, that you can have a better product and it doesn't mean anything. You can have a better product selling it for cheaper, but people will look at it and think something is defective with it. And so getting that price point, getting that sell right. And the other thing you mentioned, which is kind of neat, I talk a lot about influencers today and how that market continues to grow. Influencers are being paid pretty well to talk about a topic or a fashion item or a product because there are a lot of people that want to follow that lead.
Hmm.
And so they build their credibility, they talk about the product, and then people want to buy it or experience it, just like you mentioned. But a
Yeah.
lot of entrepreneurs are just the opposite. And I think I'm the same way. I'm learning this about me, is that in certain cases, I'm not a stage person, but I would want to be the one quarterbacking the team, right? I want the ball in my hand. If there's a play that needs to be made, kind of like what you mentioned, I want that ball. If it's basketball, I want to be the one to take the shot and win the game. I'm that confident about my abilities, but also I don't want to be just the spectator on the side watching the game. I want to be that person in it. So I completely understand. And that's how a lot of entrepreneurs are. The reason they're entrepreneurs is because they want to be on stage, right? They want to showcase their product. They want to be where the action is. They want people to appreciate the product. So yeah, what you mentioned was just incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, no, I appreciate it. But you're also, yeah, you're totally right. I think you can still, anyone listening to this, you can still be the star. Like for me, the reason why I hated the production company was because I don't belong behind the camera. Like
Right.
respect. Like not only, I have a huge ego and I have a lot of pride, but I use it positively. I don't let it be venom. I don't let it control me. But respectfully, like I don't belong behind the camera if I'm shooting someone who's less talented than me.
Right.
I'm
Right.
not going to waste my time. I don't care about the money because I'm the star.
Right.
Ultimately, I think it's important to be innovative and definitely not sacrifice your morals, your integrity, and your zenith, your focus, But it's important, let's say in this influencer world that we live in, they're not taking away the shine from us as people who want to be the star. They're sort of like the trailer.
Right.
They're the introduction to this product or to this clothing, this shirt, whatever it may be, this idea. They're
Right.
the introduction to it, sort of like the buffer. And then when people go through that and they like the product, then they'll have an appetite for you. But
Right.
oftentimes people like me and you, we're far too aggressive and far too like this. And the average person, either they're going to look at that as like, yo, this guy is too much. Obviously, usually men are the ones that are selling the thing or the
Sure.
quarterback. So it's sometimes women, but generally men. Most people are either going to be like, yo, this person is too aggressive or too extreme, or more times than not, I really believe it's actually people's insecurities of not taking the step to do what me and you or other entrepreneurs watching this have done. They'd rather hate on you than
Right.
self-reflect and be like, damn, this guy just had the balls that I wasn't willing to aspire to. So they'd rather hate on you than be like, yo, let me learn from this person to see where I
Absolutely.
went wrong so I can do the thing.
That that or let me partner with them because we can
Yeah.
both build something great together. Like, how do
No,
we both synergize and create something even better than we could have done separately?
and most
Yeah.
people don't think that way because
Right.
they want to be the star like me and you, but from a place of a taker,
Right.
not from the
Right.
place of like
Let's contribute.
abundancy. It's from a place of scarcity.
Right.
I think ultimately I found all of that I learned was through fashion, which is
Okay.
like
Interesting.
you were right in saying that it is a business venture. And I think now this influencer marketplace is really important. And I see right through it. Like
Right.
when I go on, I don't go on TikTok. I go on TikTok to post. I'm not really a scroller, but
Right.
when I go on TikTok, it really blew my mind. In 2022, I was in Paris and I saw this post blow up, and it was New Balance was re-releasing a sneaker called the Speed Cat, I believe.
Yes.
And it was old, probably. I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but like when you were growing up, I'm pretty sure that was the big sneaker at the time.
Right.
And they wanted to repackage it and re-release it because there's no new ideas. Nothing's new under the sun.
Right.
Just a repackaging of something that used to work. And the video was, yo, everyone during Paris Fashion Week is wearing this sneaker. It came in black and in red, and it was just an
Interesting.
iPhone video, and it was just different people's feet it was clearly Paris. You didn't know where they were, some in cafes, some at fashion
Right.
stores, whatever, just walking around with the sneaker. And it was like, yo, like this sneaker's everywhere. It's incredible. No one realized Puma was the one that posted it.
Oh,
It
interesting.
wasn't it wasn't an influencer video. It was Puma that posted it and made it. But because it was shot on an iPhone, it looked like a regular person shot it.
Interesting.
And that's when I realized everything that blows up on TikTok is organic. Everything is a paid post, whether you know it or not. So now
Right.
Taco Bell is getting huge right now on TikTok. That's because Taco Bell realized, hey, We're the only Mexican fast food that's across the United States. We have to compete with McDonald's and whatever,
Right.
Subway and Chipotle. So let's have these influencers buy a bunch of food and eat in their car and showcase, oh, this tastes good with this sauce. None of that is real, bro.
Right.
But
Right.
Taco Bell doesn't care how it looks. They care that now people are such sheep. They want to be like, oh, like this guy is having so much fun in his regular Toyota eating this burrito with this new sauce. Like, wow, I want to feel that way. Oh wow,
Exactly.
I forgot Taco Bell is actually just as good as
Dang.
McDonald's. You know
Right.
what I mean?
And
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 all
you're right. A lot of influencers now have agents, and it's a big industry.
for sure.
And they're often paid by those companies. So that's a really fascinating business market.
For
But no, the other thing before we move on that you mentioned that I found fascinating, the idea of you getting the internet and it did something to you that piqued a level of curiosity that is fascinating. And so entrepreneurs have this unique gift as well of having this creativity and this curiosity that drives what they like to do. But that curiosity led you to the shoes and it just built on one another at that point. So what was those first shoes that you received that you accidentally had a chance to resell?
I appreciate you listening. You're a really good
Yeah.
listener. Great questions. So back during that time, this was when Jordan had high demand but low supply, which I
Right.
think a lot of entrepreneurs, in my experience, this is where they go wrong because they make the supply eventually match the demand. And as
Yes.
an
Yes.
artist, right? Obviously, even though I see it, I'm going to always be on the opposite side of the spectrum because
Right.
maybe because of how I grew up and my father, I don't care about profit. I care about influence first.
Okay.
Profit can come after. You know, Supreme is a huge brand. It's based in New York. It's like a skateboard brand, but they do some high-end fashion stuff too. They were the best when you could only get it from one store,
Right.
or you would have to go online and compete with people all around the world to get these items. Now they have like 40 stores in the world. There's 2 in New York already. Never
Wow.
mind all over the United States, and there's like 5 in Japan. You cannot increase the supply because then the demand is going to diminish. And
Right.
that's what Jordan, no one gives a shit about Jordan. I don't even wear it anymore.
Right.
No one has it. But
Right.
back then, you needed to wait online for Jordan. So that
Wow.
means not in a mean way, but the idiot who's there,
Yeah.
3 days prior, they're always going to win.
Right.
Back then, so this is leading up to 2012.
Right.
There's a shoe. They were called the Dave White ones. And
Okay.
I was waiting in line thinking it was for the Dave White ones. And what they were doing was giving out raffle tickets.
Right.
And the line was so crazy that even if you were first online, it was a raffle. So it is what it
It
is.
didn't matter. Yeah.
It didn't matter. So I got called number 11, which is my favorite number. I went up through security had to guide me to the front and
Right.
cursing at me doing all these things. I was like, oh, why would people curse at me for a Jordan 1 sneaker? Jordan 1s weren't as popular at the time.
Right.
Turns out it weren't for Jordans. It was for this thing called a Galaxy foam posit.
Interesting.
The foam posits, they were made of foam and they were unique but really ugly. And this Galaxy foam posit sneaker, there were only 24 in the borough in Staten Island. That's it. So I think the Staten Island Mall maybe got, 13 or 14 of them. I got my number 11 and they told me I had to come back early the next day before the mall opened because I could get jumped for these.
Gosh.
I couldn't go when everyone was there. I needed security and I needed to be escorted before
Wow.
it opened. And I was like, wait, in my head, I was like, I don't even want these. Like, I want the Jordan. Turns out the Jordans were a lot easier to get. I got them the next day. So I got on this line by mistake. I won by mistake. And then someone offered me $900 for them on the line. So I was
Oh,
like,
gosh.
if someone's offering me $900 for them, they have to be worth more. If right now you're offering me this, that means you're trying to scam
Right.
me. I was a kid. So I go on eBay. Turns out someone on Facebook traded their new BMW for these sneakers. Which is only in Staten Island could someone do that. Someone do something so asinine. So I was like, oh, you know what? Like I'm gonna just go on eBay and flip these. Had I been an eBay seller already, I could have sold them that day for $15K minimum.
Wow.
Minimum. But because if you're a first time seller on eBay at the time, you need to sell them in 7 days. That's the
Okay.
minimum. So I
Sure.
sold them for $2,500, which is still great. Like
Sure.
I actually didn't even have any money at the time. That's how
Right.
how I was raised. I needed HL's debit card and they almost kicked me out because my name isn't Humberto Lopes. They had to escort him inside to pay for it. I gave him back the $250. So, I made out what was $2,250.
Right.
And because I had just gotten internet and I was seeing all these things, I was like, oh, wait, the things that are attracting my eye, I can actually buy. So I started buying certain Jordans that were rare, and I'm very much not a flipper. I'm not into like buying this and flipping it for more money, but innately I would buy something and I'd be like, oh, now that I have this, I can flip this to get a better version of it. So
Right.
I had these rare 2001, they're the Air Jordan 1 Royal ones they were called. And
Okay.
flipping to get a better quality version of it. And then
Interesting.
I would end up making more money, and I would be like, "Oh, like, I can buy certain clothes that I'm into, but also let me just make what I want now because I have a little bit of money." So ultimately, the internet was this new tool for me to have access to, like, subcultures of the world that I wouldn't have
Nice.
normally seen before. And America's not really an innovator when it comes to high fashion at the time. It was really, like,
Right.
Paris and Europe. So
Right.
having access, there's this brand Raf Simons that just blew my mind, and a lot of his clothes was 1998 to 2005 were like the stuff I was into. So now not only did I have access to even learning about it, but then purchasing it because I had the money. And yeah, that ultimately, that waiting in that wrong line really, I think, created this whole new world where, like, now I can be in this corporate office, but like I'm wearing, Balenciaga,
Right.
and like,
Right.
I'm wearing these like Balenciaga cargos and like these sneakers that aren't really even sneakers. They're like, like MMA looking shoes, or have this like Adidas Balenciaga earring, but
Right.
wear it like it's my skin because I grew up just like blown away by what the internet taught me so early on.
That Jovian, this has been probably one of the most entertaining and fun and exciting discussions I've had on the program.
I
But
appreciate
so you mentioned earlier in our discussion, you mentioned having $2,000 to kind of start the business. But now I see where you got it. You got it from reselling those shoes
Yeah.
which really launched your business.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you just walk through each step of that process. You standing in, I guess, kind of the wrong line and not realizing that it was to get a ticket for another line or a raffle drawing process is just amazing. So you had all of these events occur, leading you someplace that you didn't know where it would take you. And then out of that, you created an interest and a business,
Yeah.
which was just amazing to me.
Thank
So
you.
many companies kind of start almost by accident. And they say that that's oftentimes the mother of invention is just this necessity and just something that you stumble upon. I can only imagine that. I know we're near time, but I want to end with you talking about your current role. But I can only imagine what the conversation was like when you went to your father with these pair of shoes and you said, "Dad, I need you because your name is on the debit card." What was that conversation like, Joey?
He was like, because he's him, he said, "Okay, I'll let you borrow the 250." Because at the time, 250 was insane to pay for sneakers.
It's a lot, right?
Just a few years prior, my mom gifted me a pack of 2 pairs of Jordans. It was like a pack of 2, and it was
Okay,
only like 110 for
right.
2 pairs. So the idea that 1 pair that I won by mistake was 250, he said, "I'll give it to you, but then we have to split the profits."
Okay,
And I
how
was like,
funny.
"No, no, we're not doing, like, come on, like, I'm gonna give you back the money. Why do you need to make money off of me?" But
Right.
that's how he was. But thank God he was just saying that. And then I
Okay.
think my mom talked sense into him, like, "Yo, Jovian has no money ever. Let him
Right.
have this."
So
So
he wanted to charge you a transaction fee, right?
yes, for helping me out. I wouldn't get them. I was like, "Okay, whatever." But yeah, ultimately, and then ended up helping me create this clothing brand. I was like, "Hey, like,
Very cool.
I'm gonna, create my own version of what I see or what I think is missing in fashion," which is like, it is entrepreneur in that I see an empty space in the market that I can
Right.
put my name on, or I can innovate.
Absolutely.
I don't think that way. I just look at, man, a lot of this sucks. I want to see what I want to wear. So let me just make it,
Right.
that's an entrepreneur sort of
Right.
mindset. And yeah, I think a lot of times, especially because of like social media, people want to pay for different classes on how to network, on how to make the next thing. And I think that's dope. That's fine. Make your money. But to me, it's exploitative
Right.
because, like you said, it's not only like the best sorts of innovations come by accident. I think it's the only way. I
Right.
think when you are present and authentic and vulnerable and just in the moment, things start to come and things happen where I'm on the wrong line. And that wrong line got me my first
Right.
$2,250, and, inevitably went to me being in fashion and me meeting people I never would have met before had it not been for that. Like, I didn't network. The
Right.
networking happened because of, God or the universe, whatever you believe in, fate, whatever. And then things start to snowball. I think for me, I'm almost, and I don't recommend this for anyone, I'm against networking. I don't approach people. I just let people end up approaching me, I guess, because the way I look,
Right.
especially, in the circles we're probably in at the same time, no one looks like me, really.
Right.
So people end up approaching me because they want to know about me, which is beautiful, and I appreciate it. But I don't go out of my way to think, okay, I'm going to network today and I'm going to get this and I'm going to do this. I just am. And I think because I just am, things just happen. And I
Very
really
cool.
believe there is no playbook. It's more so just doing.
Right.
I think
Right.
ultimately Nike kind of overdid it, like just do it. But ultimately, like there is no thought. You don't have to think so much. I think it's like Steve Jobs didn't make the greatest phone. Like this is the greatest phone to me of all time because he sat in his garage and he wanted to create the greatest phone. But intellectually, he actually did it. He
Right.
created the greatest laptop, the greatest desktop because he did it. He did the thing. And I think ultimately, in the beginning, innovation comes from taking something that already exists, but then applying your 3%.
Right.
Like 97%, it has to be what everyone's used to in
Already
the
done.
beginning. It
Right.
has to be because in the beginning, you can't be super innovative because it's going to scare people.
Right.
So you
It's
take,
not adoptable. Yep.
yeah, unless it's like something that like is absolutely a need that no one's ever thought about.
Right.
Generally speaking, there's nothing new under the sun. It's 2026. 97% needs to be the same. And then you do your 3% sort of shift and innovate within that 3% that makes you you and makes your product or your business or your creation and makes it unique. But like a shirt is still a shirt. A car is still a car. It has four wheels. You can't make a car with two wheels, but how can you innovate where like Elon Musk did where, oh, it's self-driving or it parks itself or, hey, you don't have a dashboard, you have a screen in the center. That's just
Right.
3%.
Or your space shuttle will come back to Earth and land, and you can reuse it. Like that
Exactly.
is
But
cool.
that's 3%, right? It's
Right.
still a space shuttle. It's
It's
still
still
doing the same
exactly.
job, you know, but it's
Yeah.
just now it comes back, now you
Right.
save more money. So I
Right.
think that innately is just something I have always done. And then, ultimately led to where I'm at now. Yeah.
That's cool. So I know, Jovian, we're well over our time, but I want you to tell me about your company that you're working with now. So, and one day you have to promise me this. I'd love to have your father on because I know his
Sure.
journey to building his company, absolutely incredible. When you talk about the American dream and starting from very little, I think I read an article about your father, which is HL, as you describe him, that he said that you hear that it takes money to make money. And his premise is, I didn't have money, but I was able to make it. So you can do it without money as well. And his story is incredible. So we have to come back to that one day.
Sure.
And I'd love to have him on. But after 10 years in the recording industry, you decided to make a shift. And you made that shift, as you mentioned, in October of 2025. So what are you doing now? And why are you doing it? What led you to making that transition?
But yeah, I think, HL, me and my three younger brothers, we were encouraged to do whatever we wanted because he was able to escape like the actual ghetto, like the actual hood, where all of his friends are dead or in jail. The couple that did make it forced their kids to take over their business because it's like, of course, when you come from the
Right.
mud and you built this, it's like, hey, I didn't give birth to you for you to go F off and do something else.
Right.
You saw how miserable the kids were, and then all the companies failed because of that.
Right.
So he was like, "Hey, it's beautiful. Obviously, the next generation, like that's our duty to take over." But he inevitably just figured, "Hey, you guys do whatever you want, and then we'll put that under the umbrella of HL Dynasty." So for
Nice.
music, it was okay. We made a record label, December Records, and because me and him were both born in December, so December
Okay.
Records, and ultimately that's under the HL Dynasty umbrella. So it's
Oh,
like, hey,
wow.
it's still music, but we own it now, It's
Okay.
still under HL Dynasty, though it's not construction or real estate. But ultimately, regardless of anyone's choice of faith, I was praying because I was like, hey, HL is getting really involved politically now. And I'm the reason he's on social media and he blew up on social media because
Wow.
unlike me, even though I have this unique view and these unique ideas, like I'm still a musician. Like
Right.
even though I dress the way I dress, whatever, musicians aren't a commodity. The musicians are actually a burden. I need to
Right.
break through that burden to get people to care. For HL, there's no one like him who's like speaking they call it retail, very retail level, very simple, but he's a mascot for property owners, for even tenants, for entrepreneurs, for business minded people, for people who came from nothing and now are able to do what they want and have financial freedom. No one's really speaking the way he does while also not selling a course. His
Right.
opinions are not backed by needing to make money off of a course, which
Right.
again, make your money, to me, it's exploitative because
Right.
anyone who's selling a course, generally speaking, they have a month's worth of information. They're going to spread out in a year because they want
Right.
the money. And then they're not going to give all the tools, generally speaking, again, I don't want to hate on anyone. I think what you're doing is a lot more valuable because now you're talking to the person and there are codes that we're sharing, right? We're sharing the keys,
Right. Exactly.
putting
We're
things.
decoding.
Yeah, exactly. So putting lessons behind a paywall, it's all BS to me, generally speaking. So he was in such a unique position where inevitably, by mistake, he got involved in politics. So I'm seeing this in July and I'm like, hey, even though as a musician, I'm under the umbrella of HL Dynasty, I'm still pushing the boulder up my own mountain. It's not
Nice.
really contributing directly yet to his stuff. Obviously, when millions and millions were to be made, in another reality, then of course I could bring that over and, contribute in some sort of way to the portfolio or whatever it may be. At that moment though, a couple more years were needed, but then I'm leaving him.
Right.
And not only am I leaving him to push his own boulder up his mountain, I'm his son. Like this is still my company at the end of the day. Also with my skill set, he is going to hire someone else who's probably half as talented as me, but they might be controlled opposition where
Correct.
they're going to try to screw him because he's getting involved politically now. You
Right.
can't. Politics is worse than music. It's like
Right.
disgusting people we're dealing with. So I was like, I saw that and like, hey, I have this own dream that I really thought I would kill myself if I wasn't pursuing. But there's this entrepreneur who came from dirt in Africa, like even worse dirt than being in the ghettos of Red Hook, Brooklyn. So you're still in America, whose father is like a salt manufacturer billionaire or like a
Wow.
stone manufacturer billionaire.
Right.
They're not thinking, oh, I want to be a musician and write corny songs about my feelings. They're the firstborn. Their only duty is to take over and
The business.
not only keep the business neutral, but make it positive, progressive. And any other African from their country or from their continent, if they could kill them and take that place, they absolutely would. So why the hell would I push my own boulder at my own mountain because of my ambitions, because of my dreams? A dream means you're asleep. I'm awake. I don't need a dream. I can apply my sort of work ethic and my skill set and my view of the world, my disorder, right? This same color thing, I could apply that to my father's business in a way that no one else can. And if anyone else is half as talented as me, how can we trust them? They're not blood, And I'm not the type of Puerto Rican where, oh, it's blood or nothing. It's more so like I'm the firstborn. It's my duty.
Right.
And like objectively, I can't screw over my dad,
Right.
And money doesn't faze me, not because I was raised a trust fund baby, but I was raised or innately, I am an innovator and I care about packaging and creativity and pushing the boundaries, pushing the paradigm, shifting the paradigm. I have no care about money. I care about influence and I care about power and I care about, really pushing the boundaries of thought and of like what's even socially acceptable. These kinds of things are really fascinating to me. So I was praying and I was just, like, hey, like, God, I'm feeling these things. Is this wrong? Am I just being insecure? Or is there really a path for me within this? And then I opened up Instagram and two things happened simultaneously. One, Balenciaga, which was my favorite brand, the creative director left, meaning the guy who
Right.
makes the clothes look the way they do, the feel they feel. He left for Gucci. Fine.
Okay.
It's sad, but it was fine. Then I saw his right-hand woman left, and she was a chief creative officer. And I was like,
Interesting.
she's a C-suite sort of like position,
Right.
but she's creative. I never heard of this CCO
Right.
before. And then at the same time, I saw Travis Scott in Rome. He's an artist in Rome.
Right.
He created an earthquake. So his fans were so obsessed with him, they literally created an earthquake on the
Wow.
seismic chart.
Okay.
So I'm nowhere near Travis Scott's level, though I worked with a huge producer that produced a lot of his biggest records in Toronto.
And he's in a new movie now that just
Yeah,
released this summer. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So I was like, wow, like I'm only a degree separated from Travis Scott. He was listening to my music through the producer because the
That's cool.
producer was so excited about what me and her made. Her name was Wonder Girl. We made such innovative stuff. She had to show him. And I was like, yo, he might steal my swag almost, but who cares? It's what it is. I'm an innovator. So seeing him was even more sensitive because I'm so close in proximity to him. And as someone who fears God, I was like, hey, I'm an artist through and through, but I cannot be an idol. That
Right.
that void that everyone is born with needs to be filled with some version of a divine power. People who are fans of me are fans of me, not the music. They're filling that void with me, with Jovian. And
Right.
no matter how you feel, I know it might sound extreme for some people. Their sin of idolizing me is my sin. It's not theirs, because I'm tricking them into thinking, hey, Jovian is this prophet almost. It's not about the music. It's about me as a person. It's about the way I look and the way I carry myself. I would never feel comfortable with someone creating an earthquake for me.
Oh,
I
wow.
would
Okay.
I would do
Yeah.
that for God. I would
Right.
never create an earthquake for someone, which is why I'm never in crowds, because I'm not a consumer.
Right.
Idea that, again, no matter what your religious beliefs are, for me, this idea that I'm gonna make people sin by idolizing me didn't sit well. At the same time, seeing, oh, I can be a CCO, still be this artist, and then ultimately the greatest people, the greatest leaders in the world who have shifted the Earth's paradigm forever, whether they're good or bad. Sadly, sometimes they're bad. They're usually bad people, but they shift the paradigm. They shift the sort of like the matrix. Most of them have been artists. They've been artists who realized politics and being in the public space as someone who's crafting thought and pushing thought through politics. That's where the shift in the world happens. And you can be an artist and shift the paradigm, but as an artist, you cannot shift the paradigm. You can't.
Right.
The prerequisite to being a successful artist is relinquishing your ability to control and have power on anything. You can make money. You can have like superficial influence on fashion and stuff, but you can't actually move the needle. You can't move mountains. You're not allowed to. So I saw this and I was like, hey, like as a firstborn, as a fearer of God, and as someone who's created a monster that is HL, it's my fault. It's my duty to, as the firstborn, support and take over in a way where he can trust me. I can innovate. I can get in these rooms where, public thought and public sentiment can start to be crafted in an influential and positive way. Right. I don't have an ounce or a calorie of malice in my spirit. So, but I have the tools through fashion and through music to know how to affect people and influence them, not manipulate them. A lot of people in politics manipulate. They don't
Right.
influence. So for me, having the sort of thought process and being of the younger, almost Generation Z generation, I figured there's no honor in being an artist in the field, the field of music, in the field of acting, in the field of fashion. I can be an artist in religion and politics and really shift things in a way that can innovate and that has never existed before. So
Right.
ultimately, after that prayer, it was in July, I immediately told HL the next day. I told him, hey, this is not a conversation. I'm monologuing. I don't want your opinion. This is what's happening. And it's more so, how can I take over in this position? I'm not asking for your permission and I'm not asking you to give me an alternative view. It's more so, when can I start?
Very cool.
That was July. And then by September, I was fully on board. And then October, we created Gotham Housing Alliance because I
Very
saw,
cool.
hey, these tenants think landlords are the enemy when it's really government. Let's heal this divide through an organization, not through HL, but through an organization that HL runs with me as the operating officer and my ideas, my approach to branding, while also being the CCO of HL Dynasty and finding, innovative ways to, conduct business and conduct a brokerage. And yeah, by October, I had dropped my last album and I haven't even listened to music since. I haven't listened to my
Wow.
music since. I don't even think about it
You're
because like,
committed.
not only am I committed, but like I told you, I hate nostalgia. I hate the
Right.
past. Like I have to kill the past. I have to kill the boy. I have to kill the dreams because I'm awake now. You don't need dreams when you're awake.
Wow.
And that's
Wow.
where I'm at now.
That's a massive transition, just internal transition. And what's neat in what I'm hearing you say, you created that organization, but it's not just to create an organization to create the organization. You're actually helping, not just influencing, you're helping to educate people. You're
Yeah.
helping to educate them about the reality of circumstances and their environment. And part of that is also serving the community through education. And so what you're doing is just incredible.
Thank
Joe, I
you.
mean, this has been phenomenal. I think there's so much that people can take away as they decode their lives and their dreams and their passions and their business. Just so much information that you offered for such a young person.
Thank you so much.
So that's exciting. I will say this, and then at some point I'd certainly have your father on as well. But your father, HL, has built an incredible company in construction and in real estate, and now with the family office and these other ventures. And if there's a story to follow, you mentioned a lot of people that get on stage and they're trying to sell a product to help some, but they've never really built Asian. They've built the organization that has those seminars, but they haven't built an organization like your father's.
Yeah.
Your
Or their
father,
team. They're
Where's
they're
that?
or they're me. They're the next
Right.
generation who like obviously Trump was able to take the next thing and then blow it up. But like,
Correct.
outside of him, there aren't very many people who like you don't want to listen to the third party, the next generation. Like you want to listen to the source.
The original. Yeah.
Oftentimes, like outside of like Patrick Bet-David or some of these people on stage, like they didn't build it. They're just the
Right.
CEO. They're not the creator or
The
something, you know?
founder. Yeah. They didn't have the sacrifice that your father had. And we have to get back to that because I understand that his father, your grandfather, passed away when your dad was young.
Was
And he
not.
had to, when he was not. And he had to not only find a way to take care of the family at 9 years old, and
Mhm.
then to build what he's built from that experience is just incredible. But that's for another show. But it's just amazing. And I appreciate you taking time to spend with us and to share your version. I think, by the way, your father has a run for his money, though, and being an entrepreneur, because you're a bigger entrepreneur than I think you realize.
I
But
never even thought about myself in that way. So it blew my mind. You're right. You're right. That's funny. I gotta let him know that.
absolutely. So, Jovian, thank you so much for
Thank
coming on the program.
I appreciate
I
you having
hope anyone listening to this is sharing it with their friends. Jovian's experience, the experience of his father, is absolutely one to study and learn from, regardless of what spectrum of the world you come from or what your beliefs are in business or even in politics. But just to see that level of spirit in business and the learning that can come from someone like a Jovian and HL, his father, is just incredible. So I hope you're sharing this with your friends on TikTok, you're forwarding to everyone you know, and then you're coming back for the next episode. Jovian, thanks again for joining us on Business Decoded.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us on Business Decoded with Ronnie Spellman. Make sure you tune in for the next show.
Stay ahead of the curve. Subscribe right now. We will see you at the next episode.